You pause with your thumb hovering over the send button. The message is already written, simple, polite, harmless, and yet you reread it again and again. You delete one word, add another. You imagine how it might sound: cold, desperate, too formal, too casual. Minutes pass, sometimes hours, sometimes the message is never sent at all, and society calls this insecurity, oversensitivity, social anxiety. They joke that you're overthinking a text. What they don't see is the silent psychological process happening in those few seconds of hesitation. Because hesitation before sending a message isn't about the message. It's about awareness. It's about understanding that words are irreversible once released. That tone can be misread. That timing can change meaning. That a single sentence can alter a relationship, shift power, or expose vulnerability. Most people fire messages like bullets and deal with the consequences later. You hesitate because you see the consequences before they happen. This behavior is often mislabeled as weakness, but in reality, it's a sign of a mind that understands social gravity. You know that communication is not neutral. Every message carries emotional weight, status signals, and unspoken subtext. You're not afraid of typing. You're aware of impact, and awareness is something the loud world rarely respects, but constantly relies on. There is a type of person behind this hesitation known as the silent calibrator. This person is deeply attuned to social dynamics. They can sense when something feels off, even if nothing obvious is wrong. Before sending a message, they subconsciously calculate, is this the right moment? Is the emotional temperature safe? Will this create distance or closeness? Their hesitation is not confusion, it's calibration. They adjust their words the way a surgeon adjusts their hands. Precise, intentional, careful not to cause unnecessary damage. Then, there's the betrayed communicator. This one learned the hard way that honesty can be punished. Maybe they sent a message once, open, sincere, unfiltered, and it was ignored, mocked, screenshotted, or used against them later. Since then, every message feels like stepping onto thin ice. Their hesitation isn't fear of expression, it's memory. The nervous system remembers what the mind tries to forget. So before sending anything, they scan for danger, even if the danger is no longer there. Silence feels safer than vulnerability. Another archetype lives behind this behavior, the power-aware thinker. This person understands that messages create hierarchy. Who texts first? How fast someone replies? How long the message is? All of it sends signals. The power-aware thinker hesitates because they refuse to give away leverage unconsciously. They know that words can place you beneath someone emotionally if you're not careful. So they pause. They shorten messages. They delay replies. Not to manipulate, but to maintain balance, to avoid needing more than they're willing to give. And then there's the emotional translator. This is the person whose inner world is rich, but difficult to compress into text. They feel deeply, but language feels inadequate. They hesitate because they're trying to translate something complex into something simple without losing its meaning. Text strips away tone, warmth, and nuance. They know this, so they overthink. Not because they're unsure of what they feel, but because they're trying to protect it from being misunderstood. What all these people share is not social fear, but social intelligence. You understand that words don't just communicate information, they expose intention. And once intention is visible, it can't be taken back. The world celebrates people who speak without thinking, but it is quietly shaped by those who think before speaking. The problem begins when hesitation turns inward and becomes self-judgment. When you start telling yourself that something is wrong with you, that you're slow, awkward, broken. But hesitation is not a flaw. It's a pause between impulse and action. And Stoic philosophy has always valued that pause. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the space between stimulus and response is where freedom lives. Your hesitation is that space. Still, there's a shadow side. When every message feels like a risk assessment, communication becomes exhausting. When silence feels safer than expression, connection slowly fades. Not because you don't care, but because caring too much made speaking feel dangerous. This is where mastery comes in. Not forcing yourself to become impulsive, but learning when caution is useful and when it's simply fear wearing the mask of intelligence. You were never meant to be careless with words, but you were also never meant to imprison yourself with them. The goal is not to send perfect messages. There is no such thing. The goal is to send honest ones without self-betrayal. To understand that being misunderstood is sometimes the cost of being real, and that cost, while uncomfortable, is not fatal. People who hesitate before sending messages are often the same people who listen deeply, observe quietly, and choose their words with intention. They don't flood the world with noise. They add weight when they speak. And in a culture addicted to constant communication, restraint is a form of power. You don't need to erase this part of yourself. You need to understand understand it. Your hesitation is not an obstacle to connection. It's proof that you value it. And once you stop shaming yourself for that, something changes. The pause becomes calm instead of tense, thoughtful instead of anxious, intentional instead of paralyzing. Because the truth is, people like you don't speak less because you have nothing to say. You speak less because you know exactly how much words matter. So, which of these types feels closest to you? Or maybe a little bit of all of them? I'd love to hear your thoughts. If this made you think different, hit subscribe. We go deeper every day. Don't forget to like the video. The link is in the description. Mind Unfolded isn't just a channel, it's a mindset.